Hello students, welcome to FS Cloud. My name is Shashmita. We have an app by the name Careers Cloud which you can go and download through the Play Store. Once you have downloaded the application, you will easily be able to log in using your Gmail ID. And once you have logged in, you will be redirected to this page where you will be getting this UI. And there will be option for home, all courses, my courses and browse section in this application. You will be getting multiple PDFs, multiple content on daily basis that will be enhancing your learning. Under Crack Current Affairs, you will be able to see multiple options. First one is Current Affairs English. We upload the day-to-day basis news in the English format. And apart from English PDF, we also provide them in Hindi format. And this banking awareness, we upload a PDF every month. So this PDF will contain the banking news, banking and the finance news of that respective month. And Current Affairs Exam PDF will have two categories. One is that most important news of that particular month will be uploaded in this Current Affairs Exam PDF. And also Exam Perspective PDF will also be uploaded. And next is Special CA. This will contain Union Budget, Economic Survey, and also the most important events that had taken place globally as well as nationally. And next most important is topic wise. So the entire news of that particular month will be segregated into different topics. And in order to recollect whatever you've read, we also provide you with topic wise quizzes. Apart from that, we also provide state current affairs. Now, here if you see, we provide you with the day-to-day PDF, and this we provide you with the weekly PDF. So that particular week news will be compiled into a PDF and in question and answer format in English and will be uploaded here. And to enhance your learning, you can also, to enhance and strengthen your learning, you can also attend the quiz. Here we provide you with the entire news of that particular week. But here we take the top 60 most important news and we upload it in this PDF in question and answer format. Apart from weekly, we also provide you the monthly ones. This PDF will contain detailed view of that particular month news, and this will have a brief format of the same news. This will be in the form of a question and answer format, and this will have the top 100 question and answer of that particular month. We also provide you with the PIB news on a day-to-day basis, which you can go and read in these particular tabs. Apart from that, we also provide the Union Budget and Economic Survey. You can also attend you can read after reading the PDF. You can also go and attend the quiz. This is available in the Special CA category. We also provide state level current affairs. So this will be very helpful for students who are preparing for state level exams. For example, if you are preparing for Tamil Nadu state level exams, then you can click this tab and you will be able to see all the current affairs or news related to Tamil Nadu. Apart from that, we also provide PDF from the exam perspective. Suppose you are preparing for RBI Assistant Mains, then this tab will contain 5 to 6 months of current affairs, which has high probability of being asked in RBI Assistant Mains. Similarly, for SBI PO, RRB PO, Clerk Mains, all these are being given under this section. And also we provide separate content-wise, topic-wise current affairs like national affairs, government schemes, international affairs, banking and finance, economy and businesses, MOUs and committees and meetings. All these different types of news are segregated in these particular categories. Hello students, welcome to our new initiative. In this initiative, we will be uploading the weekly current affairs on banking and finance section. So this will be uploaded on every Monday. And so on the whole, per month, you will have totally 4 videos related to this topic. And apart from just providing you with the banking and finance news, we also provide you the conceptual explanation so that this will enhance and also strengthen your knowledge about these topics. Today, we will be covering December 2nd week banking and finance awareness news. Moving to the first news. The first news is about the highlights of the RBI's 5th bi-monthly monetary policy. So this was also the last monetary policy by the Shaktikantan Das as the governor of RBI. So we know that the new governor of RBI is Sanjay Malhotra. So RBI monetary policy met from 4th December to 6th December. So in this, if you see, they have reduced the GDP forecast from 7.2% to 6.6%. And for Q3, they have projected 6.8% growth. And for Q4, it is 7.2%. So if you see, out of these 6 people in the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, 4 people have voted for repo rate unchanged and 2 people have voted to reduce the repo rate. So Saugata Bhattacharya, Rajiv Ranjan, Michael Debatra Patra and Shaktikantan Das, they voted to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 6.5%, whereas Nagesh Kumar and Ram Singh voted to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points. So if you see, the policy repo rate was unchanged at 6.5, fixed reverse repo rate at 3.35, SDF at 6.25, MSF at 6.75, bank rate at 6.75, SLR at 18%, and it was the CRR which was reduced to 4%. So previously, if you see CRR of 4.5%, and in this Monetary Policy Committee, it had reduced to 4%. So RBI has raised the inflation forecast to 4.8% from 4.5%. The main reason to increase is the surge in the food inflation. If you see, the CPI inflation surged above the upper tolerance level of 6% to 6.2% in October 2024 from 5.5% in September. The main reason is the food inflation. Food inflation was the main reason for the headline inflation to cross the upper tolerance level. And we know that the lower tolerance level is 4% and the upper tolerance level is 6%. Sorry, the lower tolerance level is 2% and the upper tolerance level is 6%. So if you see, RBI allows the small finance bank to offer pre-sanctioned credit lines on UPI. So whoever has this UPI app, I'm sure you would have seen that you are eligible for a 1 lakh loan or 2 lakh loan. So you would have noticed these notification on your app. So credit line option was introduced in UPI few months back, and now it was previously only for the scheduled commercial bank. Now this has been extended to the small finance bank as well. So this facility previously available only through small scheduled commercial bank is now available to the small finance bank. So this move will provide support to the underserved groups, including small business, micro, small enterprises in the rural and semi-urban region. So if you see, under this pre-sanctioned credit line option, the minimum loan amount is 25,000, and also RBI reduces the CRR, that is cash reserve ratio, to 4%. So of all bank, it has reduced by 50 basis point in 2 equal tranches of 25 basis point, that is to 4%. So this reduction will release primary liquidity of about 1.16 lakh crore to the banking system. So the 2-tranche CRR cut is with effect from 14 December and the 28 December. So 14 December there will be a cut of 0.25 basis point, and 28 December there will be a cut of another 25 basis point. So if you see, since it has reduced by almost 0.5%, now more liquid cash will be available to the banks, because CRR is that bank has to maintain a percentage of the net demand time liability as cash with the Reserve Bank of India. So bank never earned interest on this cash. They just have to keep a percentage of this NDTL with the RBI. Now this has reduced by 0.5%, which means this cash will be available to the banking system. They can in turn use this money to provide loans to the customers. RBI increases the collateral free loan limit for the farmers from 1.6 lakh to 2 lakh. So previously the collateral free loan limit for the farmers was 1.6 lakh, and now it has been increased to 2 lakh. So why this has been increased? Because the agriculture input cost and also because of the inflation, RBI has thought that it is time to increase this limit, and that is why this limit has been increased. So previously, if you see, this limit was enhanced from 1 lakh to 1.6 lakh in the year 2019, and now it has been increased to 1.6 lakh from 1.6 lakh to 2 lakh in 2024. Now RBI allows higher interest rates on the FCNR, that is foreign currency non-resident deposit. So this is applicable for the NRI, OCI. So for those people, they can deposit their foreign currency in the India, that is they can deposit in dollars or euros. So by depositing in foreign currency is that they do not have to worry about the dollar fluctuation. The foreign currency fluctuation worry will be off their mind. That is the main purpose of this. That is the main advantage of this FCNR deposit. Now RBI has raised the interest rate because we know that the rupee has fallen way down. It has devalued due to the during the selling pressure of the FPIs. So because a lot of FPIs started selling their stocks or equities in the market and exiting that position, so the dollar value was increasing and the rupee value was decreasing. So in order to find a measure to curb that, RBI has now increased the interest rate so that more foreign currency can come into India. So RBI has decided to increase the interest rate ceilings on the foreign currency non-resident account deposit to support the foreign inflows into the country, as the domestic currency is facing devaluation pressure against the US dollar. So RBI increased the interest rate ceiling on the FCNR deposit of 1 to 5 years maturity by up to 150 basis point. Next is RBI unveils new hunter to prevent digital frauds.
Now, what is this mule account? The mule account, it is a bank account used by the criminals to launder money or carry out other type of frauds. So a fraudulent person goes and visit a normal person and tells that you open account on behalf of me. So this person will open account in name of this person one name only, but the money in the account will not be of person one. It will be of this fraudulent. So he will use the person's account to transfer his black money or illicit money transfers. For that purpose, he will use this person's account. This is called a mule account. So if you see, it is very easy to, the banking system can find out whether it's a mule account or normal account, because once the fund enters that account, immediately by end of the day itself, it will exit the account. So there will not be funds stored in this account. It will only be used as a way of transfer. The money will enter and it will leave the account immediately. By end of the day itself, it will leave the account. So these are mule accounts. They are used for illicit money transferring. A mule account is a bank account used by criminals to launder money or carry out other types of frauds. Criminals often set up mule accounts by tricking or coercing people into participating with promises of easy money. So RBI has launched an innovative artificial intelligence model called MuleHunter.ai, which is developed by the RBIH with an aim to address the growing issues of digital fraud and tighten its grip on the mule accounts. In order to address this mule accounts issue, this MuleHunter.ai was introduced by the Reserve Bank, by the RBIH. Next is RBI to introduce new benchmark called Secured Overnight Rupee Rate. So we know that MIBOR is off the table. It has been now been replaced. It's going to be replaced by the Secured Overnight Rupee Rate. So it will be developed with the support of Financial Benchmark India Limited. So this new benchmark will be based on the secured money market transaction, both market repo and tri-party repo. So if you see, this SORR therefore would be more representative of the overnight market funding rate. So remember, the new interest rate benchmark is called Secured Overnight Rupee Rate. Next is RBI to launch podcast for wider dissemination of information. So RBI will introduce podcast as an additional communication tool for wider distribution of information that is of interest to the public. And also RBI will introduce Connect to Regulate, an initiative for open regulation. So RBI has planned to introduce a section in the RBI's website which will be available for the stakeholders. So stakeholders, they can participate in the case of case studies or concept notes. So it provides an opportunity to stakeholders to share their ideas and inputs in the form of case studies or concept notes on the topic announced by the Reserve Bank from time to time. So Reserve Bank might announce some topic from time to time. So maybe, you know, how to reduce this greenwashing, or how to maybe reduce this mule account. So you can, the banks, since they are facing this issue in the ground level, they can give some inputs in the form of case studies or concept notes. For that, a dedicated section will be established in the RBI's website. The next news is about a report that has been released by the World Bank. So according to the World Bank's latest International Debt Report 2024, India's total external debt, it has increased by $31 billion to $646 billion in 2023. So if you see, the report also revealed that the interest payment increased from $15 billion to $22 billion. Since the amount has increased, so does the interest payment will also increase. So if you see, it has increased by $31 billion, which is very huge. So as per the report, the total external debt owned by the low and middle income countries reached record of 8.8 trillion, which marks an increase of 8% over 2020. Remember, the total amount by the low middle income countries is 8.8 trillion, and for India's it is the 646 billion. So this report is published annually by the World Bank Group, which provides comprehensive information about the external debt statistics and analysis for the low middle income countries. So analyzing the external debt is very, very important, because when you borrow a lot of debt, you have to pay a lot of interest payment also. So we have noticed that in most of the low and middle income countries, they pay more for the interest. That is, they spend more on the interest than they spend on health and education. So that is why it is very important to keep a track on the external debt, and that is why this report is published by the World Bank Group. This report further revealed that the net debt inflows was $33 billion, while the net equity inflows was higher at $46 billion. This is the India status. In case of India, it revealed that the net debt inflows was $33 billion and net equity inflows was $46 billion. So in case of India, the net equity was more than the net debt. Next is World Bank approved $188 million loan to boost growth in the Maharashtra district. So the World Bank, it has approved $188 billion loan to Maharashtra in order to boost its economy, particularly in the underdeveloped district of the state. So this will be provided by one of the arm of the World Bank, that is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and maturity period is 15 years, including a grace period of 5-year period.
We have launched a new course called Static Banking Awareness course. Now this course will be helpful for students who are preparing for the banking exams and for the regulatory body exams. And also recently you would have seen Paytm Bank in news frequently. So when an aspirant reads this news, he would have ample number of questions like what is a payment bank, what are the norms for it, and which is the committee that has launched it. So this Static Banking Awareness course lays a foundation to the current banking and finance news. Now, you have to download our Careers Cloud to access this course. Once you have logged into our app, you can go and click this All Courses icon, and then you'll be redirected to this page. In this, you have to go and click the Static Banking Awareness course, and under the Details tab, you will be able to see a brief about this course. And under the Part tab, it will contain all the contents, all the topics of the contents that are currently available in this course. We are working on this continuously, and this will be completed within 2 months. Under the Free tab, you can go and access one content, that is the origin and development content, for free. You can go and read this content and have an idea about this course. After reading this content, do attend the quiz that is also available under the same tab. Now, our team has allocated ample amount of time and resources to curate this content. We have created this content from various books and from various verified websites. Our content is better than any book that is available in the market. This is because we update this content on a dynamic basis. For example, there are currently 39 DRTs that are available in the country now. In future, if one more DRT is created or added, then it would become 40. So we would update this content on a dynamic basis. But in case of books, you have to wait for the next publication for this updated content. Nowadays, a lot of practical questions have been asked in the banking exams. For example, how many public sector banks are available on the stock exchange? Which is the payment bank that is being listed on the stock exchange? So, we try to cover as many practical questions as possible in this course. Apart from this, we also provide you a question bank that will contain around 3,000 questions and the previous year questions along with it. We also have a dedicated tab that will release the important RBI notification and the frequent news released by the RBI. You can use this code B15 to avail 15% discount. This is one of the highest discounts that we have offered until now. So do avail this code B15 while you purchase the course.
The next news is SEBI announced interoperability for stock exchanges from 1st April 2025. Now, what is this interoperability? So we see the major exchanges, the biggest exchanges in India are NSE and BSE. So when one of the exchange goes down, suppose say National Stock Exchange has gone down, then the customers can't execute their contracts, can't buy or sell their shares in National Stock Exchange. In that case, BSE will come to rescue. That is, now BSE will tell you customers can come and trade, that is buy or sell shares in Bombay Stock Exchange. So when one of the stock exchange goes down, the other stock exchange comes to rescue and executes their existing customers and also the customers of the National Stock Exchange request. So this is this business continuity plan. That is, the business has to continue in spite if one of this exchange falls down or server is down. So through this circular, SEBI has outlined a comprehensive business continuity plan for interoperability of stock exchanges and clearing corporations to address the issue of trading outages or glitches. The interoperability for cash derivatives and interest rate derivatives will come into effect from April 1st, 2025. SEBI has mandated the National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange to act as a backup to each other in case of any trading outage. So in case NSE has seen a trade outage, then BSE will accept the request of the customers of the NSE and should also execute the existing customers of the BSE. So it should be able to tackle that much of volume. So if you see, already BSE accepts the request of its customers. Now, if this NSE fails, then it has to accept the request of the NSE customers also. So it is almost double the volume. So it must be prepared to execute these many transactions. So it has been decided for the initial phase, the NSE would act as an alternative trading venue for the BSE and vice versa. Both the stock exchanges are required to submit the aforesaid system of procedures to SEBI within 60 days from the date of the circular. So whenever this circular is released, from that 60 days, like how this can be executed, that system of procedure has to be submitted by both the stock exchanges to the SEBI. So in case of an outage, the affected exchange are required to inform SEBI within 75 minutes of the occurrence and invoke business continuity plan. So when an outage occurs, that is when an outage occurs in a stock exchange, within 75 minutes, it has to be informed to SEBI and it must invoke the business continuity plan. The alternative trading venue will implement a continuity plan within 15 minutes of such intimation. So when NSE has undergone an outage, it has to inform SEBI within 75 minutes, and suppose BSE has to execute the business continuity plan, it has to implement within 15 minutes of SEBI intimating BSE. So this is the timeline. So for scripts exclusively listed on an exchange, the other exchange are allowed to create reserve contracts for them, and also for single stock derivatives not traded on their exchange. See, in case of NSE or BSE, you have scripts, that is, you have stocks that are exclusively traded only on one exchange. So you may find stock 1 in NSE but not in BSE. This stock is exclusively traded only on NSE. So when NSE has gone down, in that case, if the customer wants to buy or sell stock 1, then it cannot be done in BSE because that stock does not trade on BSE. In that case, what BSE does is that it creates a reserve contract. So on behalf of the customer request, the BSE creates the reserve contract, and when the NSE is up and running, that time this reserve contract is executed in the National Stock Exchange. So for scripts exclusively listed on an exchange, the other exchange are allowed to create reserve contracts for them, and also for single stock derivative not traded on their exchange to be invoked at the time of an outage on the other exchange. These reserve contracts can be invoked when the other exchange experiences an outreach. So this is what is the interoperability entire plan that is being released by the SEBI. The next news is a very important news. So now the government of India has appointed the new governor of RBI. So he is the 26th governor of RBI. He has already replaced Shri Shaktikantan Das. So his name is Sanjay Malhotra. So he was currently Revenue Secretary. So Government of India appointed Sanjay Malhotra, Revenue Secretary, Ministry of Finance, as the new governor of Reserve Bank of India. He replaced Shaktikantan Das, the second longest serving RBI governor, and became the 26th governor of RBI. Now mention in the comment section who was the first longest serving RBI governor. So who appointed Sanjay Malhotra? So the appointment committee of the cabinet and has appointed Mr. Sanjay Malhotra as the governor of the RBI. And it was notified by the Department of Personnel and Training, Ministry of Personal Public Grievances and Pension. So remember who appoints the governor of India, governor of RBI? It is appointment committee of the cabinet. So appointment committee of the cabinet appoints the governor of the Reserve Bank of India. So Sanjay Malhotra was a 1990 batch IAS officer of the Rajasthan cadre, and he has served as the chairman and managing director of the Rural Electrification and Corporation Limited. He has also served as the ex-officio secretary to the GST Council, navigating complex state-federal dynamics on the GST tax issues. Next is that women-centric welfare schemes account for about 4.5% of India's GDP in the financial year 25 as per a report released by the Goldman Sachs. Now, what is this women-centric welfare scheme? So here the Goldman Sachs has stated about the 1,000 or 1,500 that the government provide to each and every to the women in their respective states. So many political parties before winning the election, they have promised that they will provide monthly allocation or monthly amount of 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000. So various states have providing different amounts. So this amount, if you see, totally it accounts for around 0.5% of the India's GDP. So according to the Goldman Sachs Global Research, 9 Indian states which have ongoing or proposed cash transfer schemes for women have a combined allocation of $18 billion in their budget estimates for the financial year 25, accounting for 0.5% of the GDP. So those 9 states are Maharashtra, Karnataka, Assam, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and Jharkhand. And Maharashtra has topped among all the Indian states in terms of the largest allocation in the budget for the cash transfer to the women and has allocated around 5.4 billion for that. And among all the Indian states, Haryana has proposed the highest monthly financial support to women, that is 2,100 per month to women above the age of 18 years with annual household less than 2 lakh. So if you see, Maharashtra has allocated a highest budget for this cash transfer, and Haryana has promised or has proposed to provide the highest monthly financial support to women, that is 2,100 per month. States with maximum impact of the cash transfer scheme on their GDP will be Haryana in the first place. That is, the cash transfer scheme is almost 1.7% of the GDP. Second, followed by Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh, which accounts for 1.2% of GDP. And the third is Karnataka, that is 1% of the GDP. Then West Bengal around 0.8% of its GDP. So this data has been released by the Goldman Sachs. Next is CRISIL. As per CRISIL, asset growth of the NBFC to sharply decline to 15 or 17% the financial 25 and 26. So according to CRISIL rating, that is India's first credit rating agency, the growth in asset under management of the NBFC is expected to moderate to 15 to 17% in the financial year 25 and 26. Asset under management is nothing but the loans. We know that for the NBFC or for the banks, assets are nothing but loans and liabilities are deposits. So as per this CRISIL rating agency, the asset under management of the NBFC is expected to grow between 15 to 17% between in the year financial 25 and 26, which is quite lesser than the previous years. That is, in financial 24, it saw a growth of 23%. So compared to this, it is quite low in 25 and 26. And also the asset under management growth of NBFC, the main contributor of the asset growth is the home loan and the vehicle loan. So the home loan and vehicle loan contribute maximum to the growth of the assets under the NBFC. So they contribute around 45% of the NBFC asset under management. So they have telling that this will not be impacted much, which will have limited impact. So the vehicle loan and the home loan, which accounts for about 45% of the NBFC asset, will have limited impact. Whereas the unsecured loan and the microfinance segments constitute 23% of the overall NBFC asset, they are expected to be impacted more. So here, this unsecured and microfinance, they will have more impact compared to the home loan and the vehicle loan. Home loans will maintain a stable CAGR of, that is compounded annual growth rate of 13 to 14%, which is mainly driven by the policy initiatives such as interest subsidy schemes. So if you see, CRISIL Rating Limited MD is Subodh Rai and it is headquartered in Mumbai. Next is Government of India removes windfall tax and road infrastructure cess on the ATF crude oil, petrol and diesel export. Now, what is this windfall tax? Windfall tax is imposed by Government of India on industries when the government feels that they are earning a very high amount of profit. When the profit is more than the actual average amount of profit they usually earn, then this windfall tax is introduced by the government of India. So when the industries, they earn a lot of profit due to the economic conditions or the geopolitical situation, in that case, the government of India introduces this windfall tax. Mostly this windfall tax applies on the oil, petrol and diesel kind of industries. So the Department of Revenue, which works under the Ministry of Finance, has notified that the Government of India has withdrawn the special additional excise duty, commonly known as the windfall tax, thereby eliminating levies on aviation turbine fuel, crude oil, petrol and diesel. So on all these products, this windfall tax has been removed. Along not only windfall tax but also the road and infrastructure cess on the petrol and diesel exports has also been removed. So this windfall tax, it was introduced in July 2022 to address the extraordinary profits earned by the oil companies during a period of soaring global crude oil prices triggered by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So remember, it was introduced in 2022. So the tax was intended to stabilize government revenues. Since its implementation, the windfall tax generated significant revenue, that is 25,000 crore in the first year, 13,000 crore in the 2023-24 and in 2024, 6,000 crore. So why have they removed it recently? That is because declining crude oil prices. So due to the declining crude oil prices, or because the crude oil prices have stabilized, because of that, the revenue has also reduced. That is why they have removed this tax. So global oil prices have stabilized, reducing the excess revenue initially targeted by the tax. So why the main objective of the tax is to curtail the high amount of profits earned by the industry. That is not happening now. That is because the oil prices have stabilized. The high amount of profit which was earned by the industry is now reduced. It is average only. So that is why they have removed this windfall tax. And also industry concerns. Companies argue that the tax affected profitability and discouraged increased production. The third is growth strategy. Removing the levies aligns with the government's aim to enhance energy sector growth and strengthen the exports. So these are the reasons for removing the windfall tax. The next news is about ADB. So ADB has approved $350 million loan to India. So this money will be used to strengthen and modernize the country's logistics sector. So for any country, the logistics sector plays a very important role. It plays a very important role in the export sector and also in attracting foreign direct investment. So when the country's logistic is properly laid out, when the infrastructure is properly laid out, then it attracts the foreign direct investment to the country. So this funding supports the second sub-program of the SMILE program, that is Strengthening Multimodal and Integrated Logistics Ecosystem program, which is aimed at enhancing India's economic competitiveness. So improving logistics sector is very important if you want the country to be economically competitive. With India's export growth increasing significantly from $48 billion in 2000 to $467 billion in 2022, the government's aim is to reach to $2 trillion in goods and services export by 2030. So remember, the target is $2 trillion by 2030. Next is Bengaluru-based Jana Small Finance Bank has appointed R. Ramesh Seshan as its part-time chairman effective from 27th November 2024. So RBI approved his appointment following the recommendation of the Nomination and Remuneration Committee and the Board of Directors. So the Nomination and Remuneration Committee along with the Board of Directors has provided this recommendation to RBI, and then the RBI has provided its approval. So next, if you see, Deutsche Bank AG, a fully integrated financial service provider, announced that it has provided a loan of 91 million euros to SMFG India Credit Company Limited. So this money will be used to fund towards the micro, small and medium enterprises and also support the women entrepreneurs in the underserved semi-urban areas. So remember, it is Deutsche Bank AG which has provided 91 million euros to SMFG India Credit Company, which is a subsidiary of a Japan-based SMFG. So the amount is 91 million euros provided by Deutsche Bank to SMFG, and that money will be used to provide funds to the MSMEs and the women entrepreneurs. So next is about GDP forecast. So if you see, SBI, India's largest public sector bank, released its economic research department report, and in that it has projected a growth of 6.3%. So this is lower than the Reserve Bank's projection of 6.6%. So previously, if you see, RBI had projected 7.2% for the financial year 25, but the recent MPC meeting, it reduced to 6.6%, and SBI's projection is even way lesser than RBI's projection, that is, it is projecting 6.3%. The next news is about India's GDP projection. So the GDP projection by Morgan Stanley, it has reduced to 6.3% for the financial year 25 from the previous estimate of 6.7%. So now the current GDP projection by Morgan Stanley is 6.3% for the financial year 25. So it has also projected inflation, which remains below 6%, that it will ease between 5 to 5.5% over the next 2 months. We know that the target of the RBI is 4% plus or minus 2% range. So Morgan Stanley outlined 3 main factors for sustained economic recovery. So these 3 factors are very important for a sustained economic recovery. Those are government spending trends, agriculture performance, and domestic liquidity and financial conditions. So these 3 factors has to be monitored properly and has to perform very well for the entire economic to do well. So remember the percentage, it is 6.3% of GDP projection by the Morgan Stanley. Next is Department of Financial Services, which works under the Ministry of Finance. It has granted in principle approval for the consolidation of the IFCI group. So under the consolidation plan, if you see, Stock Holding Corporation of India, IFCI Factors Limited, IFCI Infrastructure Development Limited, and IIDL Realtors Limited will be consolidated with the IFCI Limited. So just remember the names of it: Stock Holding, IFCI Factors, IFCI Infrastructure, and IIDL Realtors Limited. So next is about Razorpay. So Razorpay, it has collaborated with the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center in order to enhance the cyber security of the digital payment ecosystem. So we know that India is almost 140 crore population, and in that, if you see, majority, more than half of the people have access to this digital payment system. So now, since more digital payment system is easily accessible, and also they are also vulnerable, so we see a lot of cyber crimes being arising every day. So in order to control it, in order to reduce it, this collaboration has been done, that is Razorpay with the Ministry of Home Affairs and India Cybercrime Coordination Center. So India now accounts for almost 46% of the world's digital payment volume, and according to the data from the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, India has witnessed over 7,000 daily cybercrime complaints. See, it is very, very huge. 7,000 daily cybercrime complaints. So with 85% linked to financial fraud between January and April 2024. So these many huge complaints have been received almost every day, and that is why this collaboration was very important. Next is about GDP forecast. So OECD released its economic outlook December 2024, and it had raised the India's growth forecast by 20 basis points to 6.8% in the financial year 25. So previously, the estimate it had given for the financial year 25 was 6.6%, and now it has increased to 6.8%. Remember, similarly, Morgan Stanley, it has projected 6.3%. Next is that OECD report has raised India's headline inflation from 4.5% to 4.8% in the financial year 25, and also India's inflation for the financial year 26 and 27 will be at 4.2% and 4% respectively. So the main numbers to be noted here is 6.8%, 4.8% inflation rate for the financial year 25. So it has projected India's fiscal deficit will be minus 8.2% in financial year 25 and minus 7.5% in financial year 26. And also it has retained the global GDP forecast to 3.2% in 2024, and for 2025 and 26 it has raised to 3.3%. So if you see, for 2024 it is to 3.2%, but for 2025 and 2026 it has projected 3.3%. Next is chess grandmaster D. Gukesh appointed as the new brand ambassador of the RBL Bank. So he is now also the youngest world chess championship. So in November 2024, Mumbai, Maharashtra-based RBL Bank Limited, formerly known as the Ratnakar Bank Limited, has appointed the Indian chess player the Gukesh Assets brand ambassador. Remember, this is very, very important. Gukesh, brand ambassador of RBL Bank. Next is an agreement that has been signed between India and ADB. So, Government of India and Asian Development Bank has signed a $50 million loan agreement to enhance the water security and climate resilience in Meghalaya. So, if you see, the project will create 3,000 hectares of reliable irrigation areas benefiting local farmers and enhancing the agriculture productivity. The project includes establishment of 50 weather stations for climate data collection and monitoring. So remember, Government of India and ADB $50 million loan agreement for Meghalaya. The CM of Meghalaya is Conran K. Sangma and Governor is C.H. Vijay Shankar. Next news is about Axis Bank. So Axis Bank has introduced a new account called Arise Women's Saving Account. So this account is specially introduced to empower the women financially. So these account holders, they will receive Arise debit card and it will offer transaction limit with 5 lakhs on point of sale and 1 lakh at the ATM. And also, according to the National Statistical Office data, if you see, around 20% of the India's total bank deposits is held by women. But if you see, around the total account, if you see, 36% is held by the women. If you see, suppose there are 100 accounts. In that, around 36 accounts are held by the women. So we are taking this data hypothetically. So if there are 100 accounts totally in the banking sector, 36 accounts are held by women. But if you see, only the amount that is being held in the account is just 20% held by the woman. So suppose this is 100 crores. These 100 accounts, they have money of worth of 100 crores, and the women, they hold just 20 crores. But in terms of account, they hold 36 accounts. But in terms of value or the money, they hold only 20%. So that is why it is important to bring a lot of women into the banking sector, not just to open an account, but also to deposit the money, whatever they earn. Next is that SEBI has approved Angel One AMC for mutual fund operation. So SEBI, it has now approved Angel One Asset Management Company, a wholly owned subsidiary of Angel One Limited, to act as the AMC for the Angel One mutual fund. So next news is Sachin Bansal's app Navi overtakes Cred app to become the 4th largest UPI interface app in the UPI app in India. So if you see, the first place is occupied by PhonePe. It almost has 48% of the total market share. Google Pay the second place and Paytm the third place. And now 4th place is Navi. It has replaced Cred app. Next is that Vijay Chandok joins NSDL as the MD and CEO. So National Securities Depository Limited, MD and CEO is Vijay Chandok. So he previously served as the MD and CEO of ICICI Securities Private Limited. And in September 2024, if you see NSDL, it became India's first securities depository to achieve 500 lakh crore in assets under custody. So remember, NSDL had become the first security depositories to achieve this 500 lakh crore for asset under custody. So in October 2024, it received SEBI's approval for its IPO, structured as a complete offer for sale. So around 5.72 crore equity shares that is held by the shareholders, that is NSE, State Bank of India and HDFC Bank Limited, will go for an IPO. So remember, the MD and CEO is Vijay Chandak. Next is Alua-based Federal Bank Limited. It has launched Esteem Savings Account to provide customized financial services for customers who are aged above 55 years and above. So remember, the name is Esteem Savings Account by Federal Bank. So various benefits will be provided to these customers. So if you see, insurance benefits like free yearly health checkup, hospital cash facility and doctor on-call facility, apart from the 25% discount on the locker rent, and then account maintenance charges waived off for the first year of the Demat account opening. So these are the various benefits that will be provided to the Esteemed Savings Account holder. And the MD and CEO of Federal Bank is KVS Manian. Next is India and ADB signs $98 million loan to boost the horticulture productivity. So how this money will be used to increase the horticulture productivity? This will enhance the horticulture crop farmers to access certified disease-free planting materials. So by accessing disease-free planting materials, the production of the horticulture will also increase, and in turn it will benefit the farmers. So this project supports the Government of India's Atmanirbhar Clean Plant program, and this plans to establish around 6 clean plant centers. So this project will be executed by a group of people, that is Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, National Horticulture Board and the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Remember the amount, it is $98 million from the ADB. So as per the National Horticulture Database, China is the world's largest producer of fruits and vegetables, followed by India, which is ranked in the second position. And as per the production data released by the FAO statistical database, India is the largest producer of milk, jute and pulses, and second largest producer of rice, wheat, cotton, groundnut and sugarcane. And also India is the world's 8th largest exporter of agricultural products, with Brazil leading the ranking in 2023. So remember the ranking, it is very important. Largest producer of milk, jute, pulses, second largest producer of rice, wheat, cotton, groundnut, sugarcane, and overall the 8th largest exporter of the agricultural products. Next is RBI injects 6,956 crore amid liquidity deficit. So one of the duty or one of the responsibility of RBI is to have a constant check of the liquidity condition in the market. So whether it is deficit or surplus. So constantly it keeps a check on this. So if the liquidity is deficit, then it try to inject money into the system, and if there is a liquidity surplus in the banking system, then it will try to take out the money from the system. So this is continuously monitored by the Reserve Bank of India, and now it has observed a liquidity crunch situation, and that is why it has decided to inject 6,956 crore. So RBI injected 6,956 crore into the banking system to manage the increasing liquidity deficit following a surplus liquidity of. So previously there was a surplus liquidity of 1.4 lakh crore in the last 2 months. Liquidity deficit has arisen due to negative balance of payment in Q3 financial 25 totaling to $23 billion. The main reason for this is that it is continuously outflow of foreign portfolio investors. So foreign portfolio investors, they have continuously taken money out of the system. So they have continuously sell the either bonds or equities, and they have taken their money out of the system, and that is why this deficit had been observed. And also the RBI's dollar sales in the market to stabilize the rupee. So these are the two main reasons for this liquidity deficit. The core liquidity dropped from a peak surplus of 4.6 trillion on September 27 to 1.6 trillion by November 15. So India's merchandise trade deficit increased to a 2-month high of $27 billion from $20 billion in September. And India, it ranks the 4th largest forex reserves, followed by China, Japan and Switzerland. So remember, it is China in the first place, Japan second and Switzerland third, and India is in the 4th place in forex reserves.
Thank you for watching the session. I hope you had enjoyed it. We're also available in Telegram under the name AffairsCloud_official. We also have an Instagram handle. Apart from this, you can contact us directly on 9677333862 regarding any courses that we offer or regarding any payment issues. You can contact directly on this number. Thank you.